Welcome everyone to my Xilonen kit overview. Xilonen is the newest upcoming character from Natlan. In this video, I will go over her kit, explain what she does, and then give some of my early thoughts on her. Keep in mind that the information in this video is highly subject to change, especially this early on, so don't take everything at face value. And without further ado, let's get into her kit. Xilonen is a 5-star Geo unit with team supporting capabilities. She wields a sword, scales on defense, and has a defense ascension bonus. Xilonen's normal attacks deal 3 hits of physical damage, scaling on attack. As with the other Natlan characters, Xilonen can enter the Night Soul's Blessing through her elemental skill. While she is in the Night Soul's Blessing, Xilonen gains Geo Infusion for up to 4 normal or plunging attacks. These attacks have their own multiplier, scaling on defense. The infusion cannot be overridden, and while the Geo Infusion exists, she will not be able to use her charged attack. Her elemental skill is where the buffing abilities come from. By casting her elemental skill, Xilonen will dash forward, dealing Night Soul aligned Geo damage, scaling on defense. After that, Xilonen will enter the Night Soul's Blessing with 45 points and switch to her rollerblades, allowing her to move and climb faster. With Xilonen being from the Children of Echo's tribe, I assume that she might have some of the same exploration mechanics as Kachina. Xilonen's Night Soul point limit is 90, and she starts with 45 points. The Night Soul's Blessing has a 9-second duration limit. Once you reach 9 seconds, all Night Soul points will be depleted, and Xilonen will no longer be able to gain more points. After using her elemental skill, Xilonen will summon 3 samplers alongside her. These samplers will move with the active character, generating a field similar in size to Ganyu's burst. Each sampler will absorb an element type based on your party members, reducing the elemental resistance for each absorbed element for opponents in her sampler's field. The 3 samplers will start with Geo, and if any party members are of an element that reacts with Geo, these elements being Pyro, Electro, Cryo, and Hydro, each sampler will absorb one of these said elements for each party member. So if your party members are all of 3 different elements that react with Geo, these 3 samplers will reduce your opponent's elemental resistance for all 3 of these elements. These samplers will absorb different elements on their own, but the resistance reduction effect will not instantly activate on its own. After Xilonen's Night Soul points reach the maximum limit, which can be done through her first passive, the samplers will be activated for 15 seconds, reducing opponents' elemental resistance. While Xilonen is in her Night Soul's Blessing, a Geo Source sampler will remain active throughout the Night Soul's Blessing, reducing your opponent's Geo resistance, regardless of the other sampler's absorbed elements. The resistance reduction does not stack for each element, but if there are multiple party members of the same element, multiple samplers can absorb the same element. At talent level 9, the samplers will reduce elemental resistance by 33% for 15 seconds. As for Xilonen's burst, she will deal AoE Night Soul aligned Geo damage. If there are at least 2 samplers with an absorbed element other than Geo, Xilonen will heal the active character. If there are less than 2 samplers, Xilonen will deal additional AoE Night Soul aligned Geo damage. The healing and damage both scale on defense. To activate the extra damage of her burst, you need to have 2 other Geo party members. If there are at least 2 party members of elements that react with Geo, the healing from her burst will trigger instead. Moving on to her passives, Xilonen's first passive will grant extra effects to her normal attacks during her Night Soul's Blessing. If there are at least 2 samplers with an absorbed element, Xilonen will gain 35 Night Soul points upon hitting an enemy. When there are less than 2 samplers with an absorbed element, damage dealt by her normal or plunging attacks will be increased by 30%. Since the sampler's resistance reduction only activates When Xilonen's Night Soul points reach the maximum, unlocking this passive and doing a few normal attacks will allow Xilonen to reach the maximum 90-point limit and be able to consume all Night Soul points, activating the samplers she has. And for her second passive, while in her Night Soul's Blessing, when Xilonen's Night Soul points reach the maximum of 45 points, which can be done through her first passive, she will trigger an effect equal to that of a Night Soul burst once every 14 seconds. Additionally, when any party member triggers a Night Soul burst, Xilonen's defense will be increased by 20% for 15 seconds. With all that out of the way, let's quickly go over Xilonen's signature weapon. This weapon, Peak Patrol Song, has a base attack of 542 and increases defense by 82.7%. As for its effect, when a normal or plunging attack hits an opponent, defense will be increased by a further 10% for 6 seconds. This can stack up to 2 times. When 2 stacks are reached, the wielding character's normal and plunging attack crit rate and crit damage will be increased by 1% and 8% respectively for every 1,000 of max defense, for up to 3.2% crit rate and 25.6% crit damage. Additionally, all party members' elemental damage bonus will also be increased in the same way, by 8% for up to 25.6% elemental damage bonus. These effects will last for 15 seconds. This is a decent weapon for Xilonen and your whole team, as it gives her more personal damage, but also increases your teammates' elemental damage. The craftable defense sword, Flute of Ezpitsal, might also be a decent free alternative. Overall, Xilonen is a Geo unit with the ability to reduce opponents' resistance and also heal. However, it is important to note that you do need at least 2 other party members of an element that reacts with Geo to allow Xilonen to trigger her first passive's Night Soul points increase, to reduce opponents' elemental resistance and enable the healing from her burst. The 2 party members can also be of the same element as long as it reacts with Geo. Playing her in a team without such characters would allow her to deal more personal damage, and possibly allow you to play her as a main DPS. But what makes her even better is the Scroll of the Hero of Cinder City artifact set. When triggering an elemental reaction, all party members will gain a 12% elemental damage bonus for the elements involved in the reaction. When the character equipping this set triggers this effect while in the Night Soul's Blessing, all party members will gain an additional 28% damage bonus for the aforementioned elements, which is a total of 40% elemental damage bonus this set can bring. It is important to note that Xilonen does not deal off-field damage in her Night Soul's Blessing like Kachina does, and you would need to use her Geo-infused normal attacks in the Night Soul's Blessing to trigger this effect. This would also require you to trigger the reaction with the correct elements, similar to how you would need to swirl the correct element with Anemo units. And since Xilonen's Geo-infused attacks are subject to standard elemental application cooldown, you would not be able to trigger multiple reactions instantly. Additionally, when it comes to this set's damage bonus, you can trigger the effect to multiple elements if you trigger a reaction onto an enemy affected by multiple elements. This is again similar to swirling elements with Anemo units. Since Xilonen is a Geo unit, she will only be able to trigger the damage bonus with Pyro, Electro, Cryo, or Hydro elements, and with Geo elemental damage bonus always being there. Her supportive abilities will make her a strong support and last slot in many teams, especially so in Geo teams, where the buffs she brings also work with other Geo units. In a team with a Geo damage dealer, like Navia, you could potentially use Xilonen as the second Geo unit, providing Geo damage bonus and resistance reduction. The bonus healing can also help stack Furina's damage buff, potentially making this one of Navia's better teams. Since she reduces opponents' resistance and increases elemental damage bonus through this set, she might often be compared to Kazuha, who can also do the same things. Aside from these buffs, Xilonen can heal party members, which allows her to be used over Kazuha in some teams with Farina, and her resistance reduction can also work easily with multiple elements, unlike with Anemo units where you would need to try and swirl multiple elements. Although Kazuha does have the advantage of being able to absorb elements with his burst and keep applying these elements over time, not to mention his crowd control abilities. Aside from Geo teams, there are some other teams where Xilonen can be better than someone like Kazuha. Kazuha's resistance reduction comes from the Viridescent Veneerer artifact set, which only lasts for 10 seconds after swirling an element. Xilonen's resistance reduction lasts for 15 seconds, which can be better in some teams with longer rotations, such as a Mualani team, where Viridescent Veneerer's resistance reduction might run out before you're done dealing damage. Overall, Xilonen looks like a very strong and universal support unit who can be played in many teams as a supportive last slot. I think she looks interesting and would definitely be worth checking out. Thank you for making it to the end, and thank you for watching.